SparkleVerse.
Welcome to SparkleVerse. We are so excited to create with all of you. Thank you again so much for being here. We're going to dive right in. Burn with us. The 2020 online burn, something never seen before, and you can be at the forefront of this amazing historic event.
We are excited and delighted to welcome you here tonight. This is an unprecedented moment in our lives and possibly in the history of mankind, because we're creating the online Burning Man together. Now, you may wonder, can it possibly be good? Can it possibly be fun? And during this webinar, we're going to explain to you that, oh yes, it can. And not only that, we're going to share some things we've learned from some amazing online parties. And then even more excitingly, we're going to show you how you can co-create your part of it so you can microdose people on your own creative magic. So whilst you're here, save your questions up for the end. We're here to help you. And I just wanted to point one thing out, that even though the desert is an amazing and beautiful place, I love it dearly, I miss the dust this year. There are things you can do with technology that you can't do in real life. And that means, in a way, new things are possible, new kinds of innovation are possible. So SparkleVerse is that place for magic to happen.
Also, since we have been creating virtual events for the past 6 months, there is no need to reinvent the wheel here. We are going to be providing you all the tools to set you up for success under our SparkleVersity project. So we already have about 30 videos that you guys can watch alongside some thought leadership articles to aid in your creation on the SparkleVerse.
Yeah, think of something like an Ivy League university, only for how to party better. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to briefly tell you my story of serendipity that's led me here and how I know Jess and Sophie and some other magical people in co-reality. So once upon a time, I used to live in Dublin in this big apartment in a nice part of Dublin, and I decided it would be fun to host couch surfers. So I ended up hosting all these amazing people from all over the world. And I realized there were two kinds of couch surfers. One kind was there for a cultural adventure. They were these trustworthy optimists who were prepared to fling themselves into the void, stay with a stranger in a foreign land, and think that that was a fun and worthwhile thing to do. And then there were other people using couch surfing whose main motivation seemed to be to save money on accommodation. So I used to read people's profiles and ask myself, why are they here? What's their purpose while they're here? Then one day I got a couch surfing request from a lady whose profile was completely blank, other than it said her name was Tessie, there was one photo, she was in her mid-40s from Manhattan, and all the other fields were completely blank except for her interests. And under her interests, it said she was interested in social inclusion, alternative banking systems, LED lighting, and fire spinning. So I looked at these interests and I thought to myself, there's no way you could write these down in order to get free accommodation in Dublin. So these must really be her interests. And if she's this quirky and she has these quirky interests, probably she's really interesting. So within about 10 minutes, I said yes. And that one thing that I did in my life changed the course of my future dramatically in the most marvelous ways, because Bessie arrived about a week later, and within half an hour of meeting me, she said, Thomas, you're just like a burner already. You just haven't been to Burning Man yet. Me and my friends have been 15 times. You should really come to Burning Man. You're coming to Burning Man with us. And she basically kept saying that until it came true. So 6 weeks later, I flew from Ireland to San Francisco. Her friends took me in. I got absorbed into their wonderful burner family. Many of those people are now amongst my close friends, my soul friends. And I had the most magical burn. And it was a really, really wonderful experience. And that was 6 burns ago. And it's just been, a tremendous, beautiful, lovely part of my life. Now, at the beginning of lockdown, something similar happened. I went to some online parties after a friend of mine organized a Madonna dance party and kind of created a trend in some of my London burner community. And then I saw this party that just seemed to be a bit more different, a bit more creative than the others, because it said, in order to get into this Zoom party, you have to dress up and get past the bouncer. And unless you do, you're not getting in. So I went to this one party, and that too was kind of magical. And that too was a moment that changed my life. So I hope that tonight is a moment or leads to a moment that changes your life. And Jess Sharples, who I call Jessica Sparkles, is a beautiful friend I've never actually, spent time with in person, because I know her from online parties. So Jess, maybe you'd like to share a little bit about you.
Definitely. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Jess, and I am an actor and a writer. And when the lockdown happened back in March, the entertainment industry shut down, and so did all 10 of my side jobs. So I was left really wondering what to do with my time and where to invest my passion and creativity. And I serendipitously fell into Co-Reality Collective. I was referred to them by somebody I had met at Sundance for like 2 hours. And now Co-Reality and SparkleVerse is my life. So it's a really great energy that we have. And yeah, these parties have just been absolutely phenomenal. The amount of connection that you can feel with other people from, even though you're like across the entire world from them, is really fantastic. And I'm going to share with you some of my other experiences and our other experiences in a future slide. So the online burn, we know that this can change the world and uplift people's spirits. This is a new medium, never been done before. So that means that our imaginations are the limit. We can create anything that we want on SparkleVerse. And we are providing you all the tools to do that. So, we'll go over different ways that you can share art, different ways that you can engage with, the other participants of Burning Man. And this really is historic. Like literally there has never been an online burn before. And, our founder, Ed Cook, always talks about how in the year 2300, there's going to be a thesis or a college student writing their thesis on how the online burn changed virtual events forever. And we truly believe that. We don't know when the world is opening back up. We don't know what that's going to look like. We can't control it, but we can control the energy that we put out into the world and the reach that we have to people all over the globe. So that's another really amazing thing. We're going to be having artists from Australia and Malaysia and Thailand. And I was just talking to a cabaret troupe from Hong Kong who wants to perform on SparkleVerse. Then obviously we have people in the UK and America and South America. So there are definitely things in the physical world that are not possible, but in the virtual world they are. So we just want you to think about what are things impossible in this physical world that we can achieve through bringing people together to the online burn.
All right, so we're grateful that you're here, and if you joined us late, please put a hat on if you have one. And now I have a question for you, and it's one of my favorite questions that I learned several years ago, and it goes like this. What has energy for you about Burning Man? What has energy for you, in the things you do? What gives you energy when you do them? What inspires you, and what can you share? Because we are pioneering a new medium. And even though we have social media, which is supposed to be about socializing, but it's really more about getting us to engage so they can sell ads, we think technology can be used in much better ways to inspire and uplift people. So for example, the playa is full of art, and a lot of that art gives you some kind of amazing reaction. You wander around, you look at things, you talk to others, and you get this kind of hit of stimulation or altered perception or weirdness, or it keeps playing on your senses. And even though that art is beautiful, sacred, and really kind of amazing, maybe there's other kinds of art that we can only facilitate through technology. Maybe it's linked to software, or maybe it's linked to different parts of the world. So for example, I love the idea that someone could create a webcam that videos water spinning into a basin in Australia where it spins in one direction. And then someone can also get a webcam in London where the water spins in the other direction, and put both of those on the same feed at the same time and ask people the question, which is the right way? Argue for the truth. Now, if you looked at that or you saw that on a web page, you might go, oh, wow, I'd never thought of this before, or I had thought of it, but I'd never really internalized it. And it might give you a moment of, stimulation. And we like to call those little moments, microdoses, and the good ones, microdoses of magic. So maybe you can create art in a digital form that affects someone like that. Or maybe you can do something else. Maybe you're good at organizing people and you could create a camp. Maybe you could teach something interesting or fun or useful or weird. Maybe you can facilitate experiences, lead a meditation, teach a yoga course, or maybe even a twerk shop or something I've never even heard of. Maybe you can share music, or maybe you're a DJ. Maybe there's some entirely different kind of fun that you can make happen for others. So whatever that is, if you have a way of noticing what has energy for you, maybe you can spark energy in others through your creative contribution. And by us all kind of concentrating our creativity into something that other people get to experience, we can microdose people on magic over and over as they traverse our digital player. And by the end of it, they'll reach these amazing, beautiful outlier states of consciousness, maybe a quality of mind they've never experienced before. So we invite you to think along those lines and to ask, what can you create?
And so here are just a couple examples of different experiences that we've had in our parties that hopefully inspire you. So dance offs, we do a really cool thing in our DJ rooms where you can spotlight person A and then spotlight person B and then go back and forth. And next thing you know, everyone is doing the same dance move from all across the world. We've had debates. We had a debate where two people were debating whether what was more real, numbers or online parties. And so we had a mathematician come and debate that numbers were more real. And then we had a party philosopher come and debate that online parties were more real. And of course, at the end, we came to the conclusion that online parties are more real. Intimate conversations, we found that if you have a room with the maximum number of 6 people, those guests feel very open and vulnerable and want to share and express themselves and create that like real sense of intimacy. But in larger rooms, you can also do that by putting people into breakout rooms. So we had a love speed dating session at one of our parties, and then people were put into breakout rooms for 2 minutes to meet everybody who's in that experience. And then giant meditations, we do this at our parties where we have a midnight ritual. The largest one, we had about 130 people in it, and it's really great because we all meditate on something for about 15 or 20 minutes, and then we open up the floor for a sharing circle. And I find it's always amazing that somebody that has a revelation and they share it, I most likely had that revelation while I was meditating. So this like psychic connection that all humans have, we can really access that through the virtual landscape. And creating real connection. You know, there's so many things that can be done online that can't happen in person. For example, we were at a cabaret and one of our friends, Mihail, streamed a sunrise that was happening in Berlin. And then I looked out my window in LA and I was like, oh my God, the sun is setting. And so we shared both of those at the same time. And magically enough, both of those the sunset and the sunrise were the same exact color. And you know, sunrise and sunsets can be all different kinds of color, but it was a blue sky and a very thin yellow line on the horizon line. And it was just so amazing to see that we are really all connected, even though we're very far apart. Thomas, I need you to briefly tell us about this mixed reality hot tub because I missed it. And I know we're gonna have one on the virtual playa, so I won't miss that one, but let's hear what that's all about.
Yeah, gladly. And I'd also like to just begin by briefly noting one of my most magic moments of co-reality right at the start, where a girl led this amazing guided meditation. There was about 80 people in the room. Her name was Gaia, and she got us all to breathe in and send love to one another through the screen. And it was early in lockdown, and all of a sudden, I felt this amazing sense of connection and love with a group of people. It lifted my spirits. It made me feel like I had unity once more with my fellow man after a kind of dystopian few months. And then once she built up all this energy, she got us to dance to Bohemian Rhapsody. And there was something really ecstatic and beautiful. And in that moment, I realized that you can create like amazing magical moments for others through technology, and you can share them as well. But something even more cool happened that night in that party. So Ed Cook, our founder, came up with this zany idea for a mixed reality hot tub. And it basically went like this. He said, if you can find the room, you have the chance to enter. But in order to stay, this is what you have to do. You have to run your bath, climb into your bath, and then join Zoom from your mobile phone. Okay, so something like 16 people managed to find this special room in this party, climbed into their bath, and all like splish splosh splashed around whilst talking to each other on Zoom. And all of a sudden, technology probably meant something different for them. They felt a bit more connected. They had a bit of a different type of fun. So this is just one great idea that Ed thought up, but I put to you, what other ideas haven't occurred to people yet? What can you create with that as a good example?
And now, what is SparkleVerse? We like to believe that SparkleVerse is one of the most accessible multiverses for the 2020 online burn. And accessible means that all you need is a web browser and a computer. That is literally it, well, and a Zoom account. So it's very accessible. A lot of the other universes are like 3D animations, kind of like a Sims reality where you're walking around and you see things. Others require a VR headset. So we are trying to make this as easy as possible for people to access so that as many people can come on and create as possible.
So I'd like you to think of SparkleVerse like this. Imagine a giant Google map, but with each venue that you can click on being an experience or a piece of art or a camp that someone has created for you to enjoy. Um, we have a digital player that you can walk around like an old school computer game. You can talk to other people in close proximity and you can visit things on it. And this is intended to be a kind of creative, shared adventure space. So, for example, you can find a piece of art, click on it, go into it, and then talk to other people who have visited it at the same time and remark on it, a bit like you do in real life. We also have camps that have subrooms and subspaces in them. And we have all kinds of other options for pop-up performances. So by wandering through the digital player, you can bounce through areas, you can bring your friends on adventures, and what will you find out there? Well, that's to be determined. What will you create out there? Well, we can't wait to find out.
So there are four main ways to create on SparkleVerse. One is by being a camp organizer. So maybe you're a part of a Burning Man camp already, you are part of a large artist collective, or maybe you're just very well connected and you can get a large group of people to come and co-create this space. We'll go into that a little bit more later. Or you are an artist and you want to put an art installation onto the playa. There are a bunch of different ways you can do this. We have somebody who is embedding a link to a website that goes to a 3D gallery where she has all of her photography. We have this really great thing called Flow State where people can draw on the same art installation at the same time. So we'll go into the template a little bit later. And then you can just be an artist or a performer. So you can have a pop-up experience. If you don't want to be associated with a camp or you don't know enough people to organize that, you can just have your experience pop up on the map. You can do your hour-long, piano, guitar, singing set and then disappear and, just have that one experience. Or maybe you want to do that experience for 3 different days and you want that to be an hour or 2 hours in length. We're very flexible and literally anything that you guys want to do, we can make it happen. And then the fourth way is to be an art car. So we call this Zoomception. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on how to do that in a future slide. But an art car is a great way if you have a crew of people and you want to pick up more people along the way to go around the playa and experience the camps and the pop-up and the art installations all as a community.
All right, so one of the very easiest kinds of spaces to create is an art space. We have a wizard, a very easy to use web-based form that you can step through and fill out to create art space on our digital player. And I want you to think of it like this. Imagine a window into a piece of art, and that could be a video, it could be a piece of software, it could be a gallery of images, it could be an interactive soundboard that people can click on and things happen. But we have a window on our digital art viewing space, and underneath it there are webcam blocks where people who are looking at that piece of art can talk to one another. And this allows you to easily create a piece of art to focus on your creativity, but then to allow the participants in SparkleVerse to wander around, look at your art, talk to one another about it, and then go on onward adventures.
And then this is how to create a camp. So you're going to think of your camp name. You'll have a logo. And we're going to send out all this, don't worry, but you'll have two logos, one that has a transparent PNG, it has a transparent background that will be put right on the map. And then you have one that has a filled in background. That'll be like your profile picture. You'll have a banner photo, you'll write a tagline, write a description, and then you'll create your camp. So we'll show you when you click on that little PNG on the map, you'll be zoomed into a camp. And just like you can see here, there are different things you can put on it. Our lovely graphic designer, Sophie, who's here with us tonight, has created an entire folder full of transparent PNGs that can easily be placed. And so you can create your camp however you want it with as many Zoom rooms as you want. And then you'll create your camp program with the offerings and the time so people know when you're doing what things. And then bam, they can just come and click into your camp. Same kind of goes for the artists and experienced producers. So first you got to think about what you want to do. Sky is not the limit. We actually threw a party on the moon, so your imagination is the limit. But then you can, create on SparkleVerse. It's a little bit more simple than the camp structure. So you still put in your profile picture, your banner photo, the transparent PNG that you want to have on the actual playa map. and your offerings and the times, but you don't have like a second layer to go into like a camp. It'll just be the pop-up, it'll show you what's going on, and then you can click on it directly and it will take you into that Zoom room or that YouTube live stream, or whatever that artist or experienced producer decides to link you to, and then you can just experience it. So virtual art cars are the last thing that you can create on the SparkleVerse. Two ways of doing this, and we do have SparkleVersity videos to teach you how to do this, but one way is Zoomception, as I like to call it. So you can actually have two Zoom rooms open on your computer at the same time. You'll have your crew of people in one Zoom room, and then you can screen share, just like what we're doing right now, another Zoom room that's open from the Playa map. So there's a quick little code that you put into your computer and you can access that pretty easily. And then also you could do it this way. Gary LaChance from the Decentralized Dance Party does this at co-reality parties, where he will have his crew in his personal Zoom room over here on the left. And then when you're looking at the map, this, let's pretend it's a Playa map, he has this open on one computer, and then he actually has his mobile phone that's hooked up to his personal room, and he turned the camera around and is just recording what is happening on this Playa computer and streams that directly into their personal Zoom room. He already did a SparkleVersity video on it and has a thought leadership article, so we will help you do this. It might sound difficult, but if I can figure it out, I promise you guys will be able to as well. And these are our faces. So just a couple more things that I would like to go over with you guys before we show you the wizard. So as far as ticketing goes, we are doing donation-based tickets. So the suggested donation is $50 because it's a week of programming and it's 24/7. So it's a lot of value that people can get out of this.
Yeah,
but
and a little bit of, maybe I'll just jump in there, Jess. A little bit about that. This is a totally non-profit event. Our all donations are split between our server costs, which are relatively minimal, server costs only. The whole tech team has been separately funded, some art grants, and everything else will go to Burning Man, the organization. So we're basically raising money for those purposes through our tickets.
Definitely. And so what we are requiring, we will give you a link, obviously, to create on SparkleVerse today, and we'll send it to you an email with all the welcome packet assets. But in order to access the Playa itself, to experience it, you do have to buy a ticket on Eventbrite. So the minimum donation is $1. So you'll just buy a $1 Eventbrite ticket, or donate more if you want to, whatever you want to do. And then we will email you the access link and password to the Playa. So we are requiring that of all artists in a solidarity sense. But yeah, that's that. And I think that's it. I think we're ready to show them the wizard.
Great. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to jump back in time for one moment, and I'm going to talk about where some of this came from to give you a little bit of context. Over the past few months, we have been running online parties. We have run a total of 9 online parties, each one with hundreds of people, and one online festival. Okay, and at the festival, we got other parties to merge with ours. So we think that was maybe a moment in history where we had a whole load of parties in different parts of the world all come together. But to create that, our kind of tech founders, the founders of a company called SparkleSpace, which is a pre-launch startup that's intended to make online gatherings more social, they came up with this idea for this shared contextual space to make, to give us kind of metaphors or stories to explain what was happening, and then to give us more insight into what was going on. So this is a party map for the Time Warp Party, and on it you'll see that there are various locations with numbers. Now, were this party in full swing, I'd be able to click on this, and when I did, I would see other people who are partying in this space. But because the party's over, no one's here right now. But if I click on it, I can still see the logo, the title, the name of the space, and the schedule. And each of these rooms has something like this. So we were able to create a whole night's worth of scheduling, maybe 8 or 10 hours per room at times, and have people come to our parties and have agency in how they traveled around. And this was kind of what came before SparkleVerse. And Ed Cook, our kind of co-founder, He's a very accomplished guy. He co-founded a company called Memrise, which is a language learning app, which has 50 million downloads. And then Chris Adams, he's a senior engineer with some of the largest tech startups, or they're not really startups anymore, they're unicorns in the world. So they're two very competent people who've put together the following. Okay, so we call this the SparkleVerse, and this is our digital player map. And you can think of this like a giant kind of shared space where instead of having only 10 venues, we have as many as our people can create. And there's like a computer game layer coming soon. So people are going to be able to walk around together, talk to one another like an old school computer game, and then go to venues together. So before I show you how easy it is to create something, I'd just like to show you what happened a few days ago when I posted in a Facebook group, and then someone sent me a private message and said, oh, can I create this in SparkleVerse? And I took a look at it and I said, I think you can. Here's how to do it. And he took my instructions and without any support, set up flow state. Okay, and we kind of love this because it's such a great example of something we never imagined, but we absolutely love. So if I click on view the art, all things going according to plan, flow state will appear. And this is a collaborative drawing platform where all of the people in this art piece can draw things on the screen and change the settings. So they can change how slowly or quickly things fade away. And if there's more than one person doing this, someone else could draw and I would see what they're drawing, and I could draw and they would see what I'm drawing. And yesterday, there we are, someone's on it already. Yesterday, I played noughts and crosses with a friend of mine whilst I was demoing this. Okay, now even more fun than that is the nature of sharing the fun. So right now I'm on a PC and my webcam is being used by Zoom, but were I not connected by Zoom, I could see myself here in this little box beneath the art window, and I could see all the other people in this room in the little box beneath the art window, and we would be able to talk to one another through video conferencing. So that's kind of one of the magic features of SparkleVerse, and we like to think of it as, you know, social media technology that's much more social than the way we think of it. Okay, so there we are, and I think that might be Sophie, but I'm not sure who's drawing this. I would say so because she's got good hand-eye coordination. All right. Okay, so with that in mind, let's do a quick run through of our wizards so you can see how easy this is. And my goal for you is that by the end of this quick demo that will hopefully go smoothly this time, you will realize that you can think of something fun and create it, you know, under your own auspices. You can gain some inspiration and support from us should you need it, or we can hold your hand if you need that too, but probably you won't. And you can create one of these little nodes. And if I zoom in, you'll see that we have our clock map, and we have venues that different people have already created, and more are appearing all the time. And this is the little logo for flow state that I just demonstrated. All right, so with that in mind, I am going to try to create something quickly. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a different kind of art piece. And I'm going to call this Hypno Infinity. Okay, where you zone out and zoom in on what's important in the universe. Okay, so would anyone like to share a silly or perhaps zany longer description? Make something up, preferably funny.
Something like,
everyone,
think about the end and beginning of all things in the universe, including yourself.
right, now, I promise you that Jess and I haven't actually thought about this before, but weirdly, this correlates with the piece of art that I had in mind to put in. Okay, did this the other day, and we had a great time naming things. It just took a while to make silly enough names. Okay, so now I'm going to do what we call the Blue Peter trick in England, and I'm going to say, here's what I prepared earlier. Now, maybe only Sophie will laugh, or perhaps she's busy eating ice cream, which is a good excuse. But now I'm going to upload a banner photo, and I'm going to use this hypno background that I just organized. As you can see, it's a bit hypnotic. I'm going to upload a square photo, and I have this little infinity logo. I'm going to choose how I want it to appear on the map, and I'm also going to use this little infinity logo. And now it's asking me, please enter a URL to your artwork to embed in the experience as an iframe. Right now, this is what I prepared earlier, and I found this interesting image, which is kind of like universal energy. Now, it's a little bit big, and that means it's going to have to scroll, but there's ways with, if I tweak this ever so slightly, it would fit perfectly. And now I'm going to click Create Art Piece, but before I do, notice on the right-hand side, there's this player map, and I'm going to put it out in deep player way up here. Okay, now this will make a bit more sense when I show it to you on the larger map, but note where I've located it. This is kind of at 12 o'clock, but it's way out beyond the edge of any of the rings. Now I'm going to click Create Art Piece. And this is now being created. It shows me a preview of my art piece. Now, all things going according to plan, I'm going to now go back to the map, and I see that the art piece has appeared approximately where I placed it. And now if I zoom in, I can, a bit like Google Maps, I can go up to it and I can click on it. It shows me this interesting background image. It shows me my logo. And then when I click View the Art, it loads this viewing window, and I see this giant image that I uploaded earlier. And a little bit of HTML tinkering would make this work much better. And if somebody else was looking at this at the same time, they would appear here, and I would appear here if I wasn't in a Zoom call right now. So it's like a social art viewing station. All right, so that's our first demo. And so far, this has gone according to plan. So fingers crossed.
I know this is kind of spread out right now, but we are requesting that people put it in the actual clock face itself within that sparkle fence. Although just be prepared that it may be moved around depending on, where we have to space things. But if you guys can do that when you first create an event, that would be really helpful for us on the back end.
Yeah, and that especially applies for camp.
To make it real, though, people can camp in the city, but I think there's a lot of reason to have art pieces out in the middle of nowhere. You wouldn't want to put your camp out in the middle of the playa because
exactly,
there's no toilets or whatever. You should put your camp in the clock face, but art can go outside anywhere.
Yeah. Okay. So let's jump on that right now, and let's do something along those lines, shall we? All right. So, and I just want to find. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a camp. And I'm going to click on Create Venue. I'm going to click Create Theme Camp and create my space. And I'm going to call it the Happy and Hippie Camp. And this is not inspired by anyone that I know, especially not my relatives. Okay, it's where the happiest hippies congregate. A place where you can feel empowered, that is flower empowered. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to upload a banner photo, something I prepared earlier, and I found this beautiful background that seems appropriate. I'm going to click on an image, which can be a square logo, which is going to appear here with these flowers. And it's going to ask me, how do I want the venue to appear on the map? And I'm going to just find this little flourish of flowers that I have here. Okay, and then it's going to ask me the background for my theme camp. Now this is where I'm going to make it a bit more interesting. And I'm going to pick a kind of like nice, beautiful, sparkly background. And then I'm going to hit Create Theme Camp, just like this. Okay, so now I've created a camp and I notice that it's here, and I'm going to edit the camp. I'm just going to make sure that it is in the edge of the clock face, which is about there, approximately, to align with Jess's instructions, and I'm going to hit update. Okay, now fingers crossed, yeah, it's placed approximately where I put it. All right, so now I'm going to add a room, and I'm going to call this room Flower Empowerment. I'm going to use my square flower logo. And here it is. It's asking me where do I want to put it, and I'm going to put it on the top right-hand side, top left-hand side, sorry. I'm going to say this is a Zoom room where you develop superpowers. It is powered by all of the good stuff and none of the bad stuff. And then notice that it asked me for a room URL. So for now, I'm just going to use Co-Reality, which is the website that we have for our online party collective. And I'm going to click Create Room.
And also you guys can, so when creating a pop-up or when creating a room in a camp, it will not save unless you have something in that link. So you can right now put a placeholder until you actually create your Zoom link, and then you can put that back in, but it won't save unless you have that. And you guys can edit and upload and create and change any of your spaces on the map throughout the burn week as well.
That's right. Okay. So now, now I'm going to go to SparkleVerse, and I'm going to look approximately where I created this, and it's quite small, but it is actually in the right place. And if I zoom in, I see this little flourish of flowers appearing on the map. And when I click on it, it pops up all the information I just put in. There's nothing scheduled yet, which I can take a look at next. And then if I hit enter the camp, it will load a submap, a bit like our party map. And we can see that I have this little flower room with this sparkly background. And if I click on this, it says enter the room. Now, the idea behind this is that you can have your own Zoom room, that you could have events scheduled in, or it could be open when you choose it to be open. And when someone clicked enter the room, it would load your Zoom room. Now, obviously we're all in Zoom right now, so I'm just going to show you it loading a website address, but obviously a Zoom address for a scheduled Zoom event is kind of the same. So if I click on this, it loads our Co-Reality collective site as a separate website address, and per Jess's suggestions, if you have to set up Zoom or something like it, then just put in any website address for now, and then you can swap it out later very easily through our edit tools. Okay, so that is how we demonstrate the Happy Hippocamp. Okay, now if I just do one more thing, I did have one other fun thing. Just going to save it.
Thomas?
So,
Thomas,
yeah.
Can I ask on the Zoom rooms, is it our Zoom rooms? In other words, do I have to have a premium account to have these Zoom rooms? And then how does that impact when I'm Zooming with other people like you're doing now, and all of a sudden you're operating a camp or an event at an art installation?
That's a,
Does that
yeah,
make
that's a good question, and an important one too. Okay, so basically we have a platform that allows you to connect your own kind of technology or pieces to this. And as a Zoom room, for example, we think you should have your own Zoom account. They're relatively good value. You can get a free one if you so choose to use other people's, or if you want to host something, you can get your own Zoom Pro account, which means there's no time limits and you have some more features. And that way you can create an experience and schedule it and be in control of your own Zoom room. And we have some instructions on our website about how to do that, how to manage it, and we can give you some guidance as well if that's helpful for you. Okay, so we find that a lot of our parties have taken place in Zoom, and a lot of people have found Zoom has been a really, really great kind of tool for group socializing and all kinds of fun and shared adventures. So yeah, we recommend that you get your own Zoom account, a free one at least, to participate in a lot of the events, but you can also get a pro one if you need extra features. And we'd say it's probably a good idea if you want to run some programs or host something as part of this.
Yeah, I think the Zoom Pro account is like $11.99, and you can just have it, for the month and then cancel it before it starts over again. Because yeah, with Zoom, with the pro account, like Thomas said, there's no time limit, but there's also no participant limit. So I believe with the free one, it's only 45 minutes, and then you only have a certain amount of people who can come in at one time.
Yeah,
Thanks.
and we'd also we'd invite you. We would invite you to consider participating in what we call a heroic way in this event. So some people are going to be doing things like, camping in their living room and keeping their webcam and their audio connected while they're sleeping, so their friends can, walk over to their camp and wake them up while they're sleeping at the event, just like they can in real life. So we think it's worth having a pro Zoom account for things like that. Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more quick demo, and then we can move to questions. So firstly, the third kind of venue that we have is a type of experience. And this is for exactly things like what you just described. So let's just say you're a tarot card reader, or let's say you are a close-up card magician, or you like to lead like small guided meditations, or you're brilliant at guitar and you can play covers, or even maybe, you can break dance and you can do break dances to requested music, as we had in one of our parties. Well, these are all kinds of experiences. There are many more. And this is going to be a big part of SparkleVerse. People are going to create an hour or two of experiences to share with others, and maybe you can create experiences to share with them. So I'm going to create a space here, and I'm going to call this space Unicorns United, where unicorns share their know-how. Unicorns are a rare and unique species, but many of them make time to show up for Burning Man. Now, I'm going to guess some of you here know some unicorns, so maybe you can relate to what I'm talking about. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a nice sparkly background, similar to the one I had earlier. I have a square logo, which is this one. And then I'm going to use a slightly different image to appear on the map, which will be a little unicorn head. And then this can be a Zoom URL, but for now I'm just going to put zoom.com as a holding address, because this would be for a performance. Now, when you have performances, you also have a scheduling tool, so you can time when it's on. And now I'm going to click Create Experience, but first, notice where this appears. And let's just imagine this is a pop-up experience that's supposed to take place in Deep Player, because it only happens at one time if people are there. So I'm going to put that out into Deep Player. Hopefully you can see that clearly. And I'm going to click Create Experience. And then hopefully that's there. Okay, and then as my final part of this demo, I'm going to zoom in, and up here where I placed it, I can see a little space called Unicorns United. I can click on it, it pops up this little background image, but now instead of having a room, it just has a link for an experience. And because I haven't plugged in a Zoom room, it will just open the Zoom homepage address for now. Okay, but that could have a Zoom room. And then if I just show you one of the features of that, I go to Unicorns United. I can also schedule an event under the events tool. I can create an event, fill out a form, and that will actually show a schedule of what's happening in that little pop-up venue, what day it's on, what time it starts, how long it goes on for, and perhaps the name of the people who are hosting. So we have a little scheduling tool. So that is a quick run through of our demo. So I have one just before we do our closing ritual. My little question or request is, this is a moment in history. Our goal is to make so many magic moments happen that you have that kind of perpetual FOMO that you have at the burn, but you don't really mind because you're having a good time anyway. Okay, so if you know other burners, please tell them about this. If you know people who are like burners but just haven't been to the burn, this is their chance. And spread the word, because we've all lived through a kind of dystopian year, but this just might cheer people up like nothing has so far. and forces combined, we get to do that with one another. So we'd appreciate if you could share the word.
Definitely. And I do have a little homework for you guys. This will be in the email that I'm sending out, but you might just want to copy and paste it from the chat into like a little notes section on your computer. The first link is the direct link to creating on the SparkleVerse. And then the second one is our website. The third, and this is your homework, join our Facebook group. That's our SparkleVerse community Facebook group. If you want to get in touch with other people who are creating on SparkleVerse and co-create with them, definitely join that group. We're going to be having a dress rehearsal and some social hours to meet people. And then the SparkleVerse Facebook page, if you guys can like and follow that, that would be great. We post just as soon as we have SparkleVersity videos out, we put those up there. Also, like different updates are going to be on that page. And then you can respond going to the Burning Man Facebook event and start inviting all your friends there. That will link them to the Eventbrite ticketing page where they can buy their tickets. And then the last link is our YouTube channel. If you guys can subscribe to that, that would be great. We have all of our SparkleVersity videos on there. Obviously, we also have them on our website with some thought leadership articles, but we have a ton of SparkleVersity videos on YouTube that are in playlists, so you can quickly go through each of them. So save that. It will also be in the email. But if you want to get started on that little piece of homework, that would be fantastic. Super appreciate you guys. And now I believe it's time to end with a little dance. So just believe. I want to see every single person dancing.
Talking to you. It's so sad that you're leaving. It takes time to believe it. But after all is said and done, you're gonna be the only one. Oh, do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't strong enough now. Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough now.
Woo! Thanks for indulging me, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
SparkleVerse.